So, hey hello all, welcome to Science Books Review. Today I'm gonna review the book named Crossroads of Twilight. This is the 10th book of the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I do finish reading this book just right now and I'm really very excited to share my thoughts. So let's get into it, the overview of this book. This incident took place after Randus removed the dog's stained from the two souls after the ritual that took place in a Shadow Logoth, and we have seen Egwene by the very end of the Path of Daggers book where she arrived in Tarbalan. Hopefully, there would be a battle against Yelena in this book, and Perrin still trying to figure out a way in order to retrieve a file back. And Elaine got to need to deal with the politics that took place in the Camlin. And Matt finally, after a very long time, does met the daughter of the Nine Moons. So it has been far more interesting than I do have expected. Hopefully, we can be able to get a decisive plot about him. And before getting into my overall experience, I just wanted to mention the phrase which has been written in this one. And when you know you were going to hang, the only thing to do was grin at the news. And I can only grin at this book. The news and this book both are same in this one. And I do mention that Crown of Swords, this is the worst book I have ever read in my reading journey, and this one is far more worse than that. Let me elaborate that on the spoiler free review. So now let's get into that. And before I do started reading this one, I do initially have a really very high hopes, because the plot has been set up for this book is really very huge, because Rand has removed the Darkstone stain. So I am really very pumped up in order to see the reactions of Masrim Time and Logan in this one. And Perrin, I do hope that there would be a battle against a Shadow Elkan by the very end of this book. And Egwene, she's been there in Tarbalan, so there would be a battle against Eleta soon enough. But I didn't get answers for any of these questions. Um, Many of the booktubers does mention this, that this book would be far more worse than you would have expected. I am somewhat adamant to believe that, but after reading all this book, and I am some kind of agree upon that after some more than 400 pages of this book, and I do look back and I seen there isn't any progression at all. This is one of the rare books where there is no character development, no plot progression, no decisive moments at all. Totally utter shit. And the only thing which I do loved in this book is some of the chapters of Egwene. Even that has a lot of flaws, but still, compared to all the other characters, her plot has been slightly good to read. And yeah, overall, I don't want to talk about this book in a very long time. I'm extremely disappointed with this one. And if you do take the, for example, let us take a Path of Daggers book. Even in that book, there is no plot progression at all. These two books are more or less the same, but I didn't actually hate the Path of Daggers book that much, because there isn't any huge plot being set up for that one. By the very end of a Crown of Swords, we can be able to get an actual ending for many of the plots. So everything started anew. So we can be able to forgive that. But here there are a lot of plot has been already introduced, huge plots been set up already. So I do expected something more about this book, but Robert Jordan doesn't manage to give a good book out of that. So yeah, extremely disappointed. My rating for this book is 1 out of 5. I've been constantly giving this rating for many of the Wheel of Time books by now. So yeah, extremely frustrated. And I'm in mind to make a video where why you shouldn't read Wheel of Time series. Many of you may object that in order to make that video, you must have read the whole series. But I kind of disagree. 10 books is a really very long time, right? And I have been reading this book for nearly yeah, 1 year by now. So yeah, I really wanted to something epic about this book, but there is nothing at all. It has been a really very cringe, and very sluggish. So yeah, maybe I should make a video about that one as quick as possible. So yeah, hopefully you would enjoy that video. So now I want to get into the spoiler talk. I don't know what I'm going to actually talk about, so I will try to make my best about that. So now let's get into the spoiler. First of all, I gotta need to talk about parents chapters in this book. Parents chapters in this book are a lot more similar to his chapters in the previous book itself. There is no improvement at all. He's been doing the same thing, following up village after village and trying to find a way in order to retrieve back a file. It is a little bit frustrating to read after all these times. And initially, whenever Masima Dagger's presence around him made the conversation a lot more spicier to read, but in this book even that is not working at all. And by the very end of this book, Perrin does chopped off one of the hand of the Shadow Hill clan soldier, and that is a somewhat a brilliant move by Robert Jordan in order to showcase Perrin's mentality at this stage, where he can able to take any hard route in order to get the things done in his way. And yeah, that is cool, but if these things does happened in the very start of the Shadow Racing book, I would have been a lot more happier, because he's been a young boy about that time. If he does made this decision at that point in time, it would have made his character hell of a lot better. But after being a ruler for nearly 5 books by now, him taking his decisions, I don't know, it doesn't need to be emphasized in this way. So yeah. And I do love Matt's character in Dragon Reborn book. After that, he's been really very disappointment to me, and this book is not strange though. That thing is really very frustrating to read at all. There isn't anything happening about his plot in the last 3 to 4 books. So yeah, I'm really very disappointed with him. Tuvan's character does add some value to his storyline in this book, but still nothing special about his character. Hopefully, we can able to get something good about his character in the future books. And I don't know why every YouTuber does emphasizing a Matt's character on a whole next level. They do mention him as a comedic guy. I don't think so. He does make some full screen at the some point. Is that made you feel Matt is a comedy guy? I seriously wanted to know this thing. I am missing something, or he's not my taste. I don't know. Do comment below. And Elaine's chapters in this book. What happened around her? Actually, there isn't anything decisive happened around his chapters. So yeah, and I haven't read any character as boring as Elaine by this point in time. So yeah, whenever Elaine chapters comes up, I do wanted to skip those chapters by the very next book. So yeah, hopefully we can able to get something good about her in the future books. Yeah, hopefully so. And Igwin does dealing with all the Aes Sedai does added the spice to the storyline, and her ended up betrayed by some of the Aes Sedai, and that is a somewhat and really very good way to end this book. And I'm really wanted to know what is happening around her chapters. And Rand doesn't have any screen time in this book. He does have only one chapter where he does have a conversation with Logan and finally agreeing upon in order to get a truce with the Xianchen army. And that is a hell of a lot more interesting. And I do mention that in my Fires of Heaven book review. If you haven't watched that, do check out. I would give that in the cards. And I do mention that whenever Rand's chapter does pops up, I do wanted to skip all those chapters because these things are not at all interesting for me to read. But after all these times, his chapters are the really very far more interesting than other characters. I do love Rand by my whole heart by this book. He's been my topmost favorite character by now. That is somewhat really surprising even for me. So yeah, we can able to get something more about him. And he is not at all behaving like an young boy from the Emmonsfield by now. He's changed a lot from the beginning of the Eye of the World. So yeah, it's really very good to see all the progress around his character. Hopefully things would end up well for him in the future events of the book. So yeah, that's all it. And I do have known that this is the final slog book in the Wheel of Time series, and I do hope this would end here, and we can be able to get into the best moments of this book, which is the final four books of the series. And let's hope every books after this one is going to be a better. So thanks for watching. You can able to check out my previous video right down here. Comment down your thoughts of this book and my video below in the comment section. So I will meet you soon by the very next week. So until then, tata, bye bye. I will see you soon. Happy reading to you all.